Namaskar, a warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is Gaurav Sharma and with me is Manoj Singh Rana bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. India-Australia hold bilateral meet in New Delhi to discuss defence cooperation, deepening military engagements and cooperation in emerging defence technologies. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi calls for enhanced Brics cooperation under the motto of Build Back Resiliently, Innovatively, Credibly and Sustainably in Post-COVID Global Recovery. India calls for an inclusive dispensation in Afghanistan which represents all sections of Afghan society. United Arab Emirates lifts restrictions on entry for fully vaccinated residents. Indians may fly into UAE from September the 12th. In cricket, fifth and final test between India and England at Old Trafford called off due to COVID-19 fears. And in US Open, top seed Novak Djokovic to take on Olympic gold medalist Alexander Zverev in men's semi-final. In women's singles, 18-year-old British Emma Raducanu to clash with Canadian Leila Fernandez in the finals. As the nationwide free COVID-19 vaccination campaign at government facilities for those above 18 years is underway, we advise our young listeners to get vaccinated and help others get vaccinated. We also advise our listeners not to lower their guard as COVID-19 remains a threat to our health. Please stay at home unless it is essential to go out and continue to follow these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, and focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact the national helpline numbers 011 2397 8046 and 1075. And now, the news in detail. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh held bilateral meeting with his Australian counterpart Peter Dutton in New Delhi on Friday. Briefing the media following the meeting, Mr. Singh said he had fruitful and wide-ranging discussions with his Australian counterpart. He said regional issues were discussed in the meeting besides bilateral defence cooperation and expanding military engagements across services, enhancing defence information sharing, cooperation in emerging defence technologies, and mutual logistics support. The Defence Minister said India is committed to building a robust partnership with Australia for the security and the growth of the entire region. He said the India-Australia partnership is based on shared vision of free, open, inclusive and rule-based Indo-Pacific region. He added that both nations are keen to work jointly to realize full potential of India-Australia Comprehensive Strategic Partnership.
The significant progress of our bilateral relations in the recent times, the elevation of this relationship to a comprehensive strategic partnership during the virtual leaders summit between Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Morrison in June 2020 was a major milestone in the relationship. Despite these testing times of COVID, your visit to India is a testimony of our strong friendship.
The Australian Defence Minister Dutton said India's leadership is central to the Australia-India-Pacific strategy and it is in the sovereign interest of both the nations.
India's leadership is central to Australia's Indo-Pacific strategy. It is in the sovereign interest of us both to align our strategy, our capability and our resources. And so today we have continued to work towards enhancing Australia's posture in the Indian Ocean region by ramping up our Air Force cooperation, our maritime engagement and exercises.
Both sides noted with happiness that Australia joined the Malabar exercise in 2020. In this context, the Indian side also expressed satisfaction in the continued participation of Australia in the Malabar exercise this year. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh apprised Minister Dutton about recent efforts towards Atmanirbhar Bharat and the growing innovation ecosystem in India. They discussed opportunities to work together in the areas of defence science and technology. The Australian Foreign Minister Marise Payne has said it is certainly an exciting time to witness the continued rise of a new India, a country which is both ancient and modern. In a keynote speech hosted by Observer Research Foundation, Ms. Payne said, under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, India is reassuring its leadership in contributing to a secure and prosperous region. She said vaccines provide great hope for return to normalcy and acknowledged the particularly important role that India has played in this area. Women and Child Development Minister Smriti Irani met the Australian Foreign Minister Marise Payne in New Delhi this evening. The ministers discussed ways and methods to enhance cooperation between India and Australia in the areas of gender equality and women's safety.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi chaired the 13th Brics Summit virtually on Thursday. The theme of the summit chosen by India was BRICS at 15, Intra-BRICS Cooperation for Continuity, Consolidation and Consensus. Highlighting the leading role that BRICS countries can play in the post-COVID global recovery, the Prime Minister called for enhanced BRICS cooperation under the motto of Build Back Resiliently, Innovatively, Credibly and Sustainably. The Prime Minister expressed his appreciation for the cooperation received from BRICS partners during India's chairship this year, which allowed the achievement of several new initiatives.
भारत की अध्यक्षता के दौरान हमें सभी ब्रिक्स पार्टनर्स में और सभी से भरपूर सहयोग मिला और इसके लिए मैं आप सभी का बहुत बहुत आभारी हूं। पिछले 1.5 दशक में ब्रिक्स ने कई उपलब्धियां हासिल की हैं। आज हम विश्व की उभरती अर्थव्यवस्थाओं के लिए एक प्रभावकारी आवाज, विकासशील देशों की प्राथमिकताओं पर ध्यान केंद्रित करने के लिए भी यह मंच उपयोगी हो रहा है। ब्रिक्स ने न्यू डेवलपमेंट बैंक, कंटीजेंसी रिजर्व अरेंजमेंट और एनर्जी रिसर्च कोऑपरेशन प्लेटफॉर्म जैसी मजबूत संस्थाओं का सृजन किया है।
Elaborating on these themes, the Prime Minister stressed the need for accelerating build back by enhancing speed and accessibility of vaccination, creating resilience by diversifying pharma and vaccine production capacities beyond the developed world, fostering innovation by creatively using digital tools for public good, ensuring reform of multilateral institutions to enhance their credibility, and promoting sustainable development by articulating a common BRICS voice on environmental and climate issues. BRICS leaders have said that Afghanistan should now become a sanctuary for terror groups to attack other countries. India's BRICS Sherpa and Secretary in the Ministry of External Affairs, Sanjay Bhattacharya, said there was a very strong consensus that Afghanistan should not become a reason for problems in the neighborhood. The BRICS leaders called for peace and stability in Afghanistan. The meeting was attended by Russian President Vladimir Putin, Chinese President Xi Jinping, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, and Brazil's Jair Bolsonaro. China has expressed gratitude to India for successfully hosting the 13th BRICS Summit and BRICS cooperation in the last 1 year under India's chairship, which has seen several new initiatives. In response to a media query at a press briefing in Beijing, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Zhao Lijiang said that China fully recognizes the contribution of BRICS under India's chairship in the last 1 year and expresses gratitude to India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chaired the 13th BRICS Summit virtually on Thursday, which saw many new initiatives, including the first BRICS Ministerial Joint Statement on Multilateral Reforms, a BRICS Counter-Terrorism Action Plan, in addition to discussion on the post-COVID global recovery. Addressing the 13th BRICS Summit via video link, Chinese President Xi Jinping said the 5-member bloc should consolidate their strategic partnership, support each other in issues concerning their respective core interests, and jointly safeguard their sovereignty, security and development interest. Xi, who is also the General Secretary of the ruling Communist Party of China, said the BRICS countries have become an important force on the international stage to be reckoned with. The BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa, have supported multilateralism and taken part in global governance in the spirit of equity, justice and mutual assistance, he said. On the issue of terrorism, President Xi said the BRICS Counter-Terrorism Action Plan adopted earlier this year should be implemented in real earnest.
India has called for an inclusive dispensation in Afghanistan which represents all the sections of the Afghan society. Addressing the UN Security Council debate on Afghanistan, India's permanent representative to the UN, T.S. Tirumurti, said a broad-based, inclusive and representative formation through inclusive negotiated political settlement would gain greater international acceptability and legitimacy. He said the voices of Afghan women should be heard, aspirations of Afghan children should be realized, and the rights of minorities should be protected. Saying that the humanitarian assistance should be provided urgently to the country, he underlined the need to provide unhindered access to the UN and other agencies in this regard. In a report, the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, has said that 97% of Afghans could plunge into poverty by mid-2022. The study, which analyzed 4 potential scenarios of escalating intensity and isolation, indicates that real GDP could contract by as much as 13.2%, leading to an increase in the poverty rate of up to 25 percentage points. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
Welcome back. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi chaired a high-level meeting to review the COVID-19 related situation. The topics covered included a review of the prevailing COVID-19 scenario, preparedness of the health systems to respond, availability of medical oxygen, and matters relating to production, supply and distribution of COVID-19 vaccine. It was discussed that across the world there are countries where the number of active COVID cases continues to remain high. In India too, the figures from states like Maharashtra and Kerala indicate that there can be no room for complacency. However, the weekly positivity was at less than 3% for the 10th consecutive week. On vaccines, Mr. Modi was apprised that around 58% of India's adult population has received the first dose and around 18% of India's adult population has received the second dose. He was updated about the vaccine pipeline and increased supply of vaccines. In a landmark achievement, India's COVID-19 vaccination coverage has reached nearly the 73 crore mark. The cumulative figure stands at 72 crore, 97 lakh, 50,000 and 724. CoWIN has developed a new application programming interface called Know Your Customers or Clients Vaccination Status, KYCVS. This will enable entities to check on individual status of vaccination through CoWIN. To use this API, an individual needs to enter his or her mobile number and name. Thereafter, they will get an OTP which they have to enter. In return, CoWIN will send a response to the verifying entity on the individual status of vaccination. If the response of CoWIN is 0, it means that the person is not vaccinated. 1 means that the person is partially vaccinated, and 2 means that the person is fully vaccinated. This response will be digitally signed and can be shared instantly with the verifying entity.
As millions of children are heading back to schools across the United States, thousands of them are testing COVID positive. More than 250,000 children had fresh cases of COVID-19 in the last week of August, the American Academy of Pediatrics said in a report published on Wednesday. This is the highest weekly rate of new pediatric cases since the COVID-19 pandemic began. Data from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, showed that children's hospitals are straining under the surge in fresh COVID-19 cases. About 2,500 children were hospitalized with COVID-19 in the week up to September the 6th. Indian Minister of State for Food Processing Industries, Prahlad Singh Patel, has said that the export of food processing products can reach $400 billion in the coming years. He said the government has taken several steps to bridge the demand-supply gap and reduce the wastage of food items in the last 7 years. In an exclusive interview with AIR News, Mr. Patel said the government is providing technical and financial support to farmers and entrepreneurs so that cheaper and quality products can be prepared in the country.
3 ही लक्ष्य विभाग के हैं कि मांग और पूर्ति के गैप के लिए देश तैयार हो। दूसरा, जहां पर अधिक मात्रा में उत्पादन हो जाए तो वो सड़े ना, या तो उसकी उम्र बढ़ा दी जाए या उसको प्रोसेस करके और गुणवत्ता उसकी बढ़ा दी जाए ताकि वो देश में और देश के बाहर वो पहुंच सके। और तीसरी बात उन्होंने कही है कि भाई आखिरकार हमें निर्यात की तरफ आगे बढ़ना होगा और इसलिए जो निर्यात है अभी हमारा है वो कुल 38 बिलियन का है। मुझे लगता है कि ये लक्ष्य पाया जा सकता है। निफ्टम जैसी हमारी संस्थाएं इसमें बेहतर काम कर रही हैं और भी जो संस्थाएं देश में हैं जो निजी क्षेत्र चला रहे हैं उनके साथ मिलकर हमारी जिम्मेदारी है कि किसान उत्पादक हो या अन्न उत्पादक हो, उनको किस तकनीक की जरूरत है। तो मुझे लगता है कि हम सब मिलकर उत्पादक, व्यापारी, हमारे समूह, सोसाइटी, एफपीओ, साइंटिस्ट और हम उद्योगपति मिलकर इस लक्ष्य को जरूर प्राप्त करें।
On the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, Mr. Patel said the Prime Minister's call for Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav has given great strength to the country. He said several activities have been planned by the Food Processing Industry Ministry for the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav.
हम लोगों ने तय किया कि इन सप्ताह के भीतर 20 जो यूनिट हैं जो सफलता के साथ में चल रहे हैं, पूरे हो गए हैं, उनको हम लोकार्पित करेंगे। ये 10 राज्यों में। और भी पहले से जो स्कीम चल रही थी मेगा फूड पार्क की, वो 42 वित्त मंत्रालय ने की थी, जिसमें से 41 पर काम शुरू हुआ था, लगभग 22 उसमें चल रही है। वहां पर एंटरप्रेन्योर्स को मौका मिले, जो स्कीम का मूल उद्देश्य था, उस पर भी सरकार काम कर रही है, विभाग काम कर रहा है।
The fourth conference of the Protectors of Immigrants was held on Friday, coinciding with the date of enactment of the Immigration Act 1983. Minister of State for External Affairs V. Muralidharan delivered the keynote address and observed that the nation has worked together to deal with the challenges of the pandemic. He stated that this is the right time to prepare for the opportunities that are ahead of the nation in a world that is cautiously returning to normalcy. He stressed that protectors of immigrants should facilitate the emigration of blue-collared workers while providing the best possible protection and welfare. Mr. Muralidharan said protectors of immigrants have an important role in informing youth and workers about new destinations and opportunities. The United Arab Emirates, UAE, on Friday said that it is lifting restrictions on entry for residents who have been fully vaccinated with a shot approved by the World Health Organization. It said that residents from India can fly into the UAE from September the 12th. It has also allowed residents from Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Vietnam, Namibia, Zambia, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Uganda, Sierra Leone, Liberia, South Africa, Nigeria and Afghanistan as well to fly into the UAE from September the 12th.
A Dhaka court on Friday remanded a top leader of the banned terror outfit Jamaatul Mujahideen Bangladesh JMB to 3-day remand in a case lodged under the anti-terrorism law of Bangladesh. The police had sought a 10-day remand for Ahmadul Haq alias Uzzal Master for interrogation, but the court granted a 3 days remand. Ahmadul Haq alias Uzzal Master was arrested by the Elite Rapid Action Battalion RAB on Thursday from the Bosila area of Dhaka. He was trying to reorganize the militant organization when he was arrested on Thursday. Other members of the group fled when RAB raided their hideout in Dhaka. Earlier, the media wing of the RAB had told local media persons that police conducted a raid based on the information provided by terrorists arrested at Khagrahar area in Myominshing on September the 2nd. And now let's enjoy our program Kaleidoscope, where we bring you short, funny, crisp and unique stories from across the world. It is read by Maria Albina Michael.
The word coconut immediately brings grace and smile to many of us, not just because of its food value, but also its health benefits, like as an antioxidant, antifungal, antiviral, and antibacterial properties. Ask the homemakers. They will vouch for its use not only in recipes, but also in the manufacture of cosmetics. And not to forget that the coconut water is one of the most refreshing drinks. In fact, World Coconut Day is celebrated every year on 2nd September to create awareness about the usage of this unique fruit. The Coconut Development Board, with its headquarters in Kochi, Kerala, has organized awareness campaigns and technical sessions by experts to increase production and also highlights the benefits of this wonder fruit. This is even more important given the fact that India is a major producer of coconuts in the Asia-Pacific region. Here's an ode to coconut buffs.
He gets the fruit free, the cocoa fruit. It's the cocoa fruit of the cocoa tree, from the cocoa palm family. Coconut, 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 coconut. The coconut bark for the kitchen floor. If you save some...
Goldfish for gold. Chandrakant Tare, a fisherman in Maharashtra, had the cash register rolling with a catch of 157 goldfishes on his first day out in the sea after the monsoon ban on fishing was lifted. A rare croaker fish, it is aptly known as sea gold and is one of the most expensive marine fish. For a good catch, the fishermen have to venture deep into the sea. Goldfish has medicinal properties and are used by pharmaceutical companies to make dissolvable stitches. That was some catch. A 157 goldfish sold for 1.33 crore rupees. Chandrakant Tare can now sleep Panchayat in Kerala's Palakkad district has become the first local body in the country to ban the use of salutations like sir and madam, as they are remnants of the colonial rule. The historic decision could kickstart a wave of reforms in the use of official language. People who require the services of the office will address the concerned person by their designations or names that will be displayed on the table of every official. An elderly or senior employee may be addressed as Cheta, older brother, or Chechi, older sister. The Panchayat has also encouraged the use of words like I demand and I desire when writing a letter for a service to be provided. The Panchayat took the decision unanimously to bring in an air of friendliness, taking into consideration the interest of everyone. That's all in today's edition of Kaleidoscope. We'll be back again tomorrow with more interesting stories. Until then, be compassionate, empathetic, and keep spreading positivity. If you have any questions or feedback, drop us an email at duniarangbirangi10@gmail.com. Stay safe and happy. Namaskar.
India's Petroleum Minister Hardeep Singh Puri co-chaired a virtual ministerial meeting with U.S. Secretary of Energy Ms. Jennifer Granholm to launch the revamped U.S.-India Strategic Clean Energy Partnership, SCEP. The SCEP is launched in accordance with U.S.-India Climate and Clean Energy Agenda 2030 partnership announced by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Joe Biden at the Leaders' Summit on Climate held in April this year. The SCEP organizes intergovernmental engagement across 5 pillars of cooperation: power and energy efficiency, responsible oil and gas, renewable energy, sustainable growth, and emerging fuels. Mr. Puri and Ms. Granholm reviewed the progress, major accomplishments, and prioritized new areas for cooperation under the various pillars. Mr. Puri emphasized that the revamped clean energy partnership will intensify the efforts from both sides to take advantage of the complementarities that exist between the US and India, advance US technologies, and rapidly growing India's energy market for a win-win situation through a cleaner energy route with low carbon pathways. The two sides announced an addition of a 5th pillar on emerging fuels, which signals joint resolve to promote cleaner energy fuels. A new India-US task force on biofuels was also announced to build on the scope of work on cooperation in biofuel sector. US Secretary lauded India's renewable energy target of 450 gigawatt by 2030 and offered to closely collaborate in realization of this target by India. The two sides also announced rechristening of Gas Task Force to India-US Low Emissions Gas Task Force, which would continue to forge collaboration between the US and Indian companies on innovative projects to support India's vision of gas-based economy. The meeting also reviewed the progress on the India-US civil nuclear energy cooperation.
The Central Bank of Sri Lanka Governor Vedi Gamage Don Lakshman said he would step down next week at a time when the South Asian island nation's weak foreign exchange reserves have limited its ability to import goods and raised the risk of default. Sri Lanka did not immediately announce a successor to Lakshman, who took up the post in December 2019. The government said he would step down on Tuesday. The announcement comes with bonds at nearly half their face value, debt to gross domestic product, GDP levels exceeding 100%, more than 80% of government revenues going on interest payments alone, and foreign exchange reserves dropping to less than 2 months import cover in July.
A super typhoon that rapidly formed in just 48 hours is threatening both the Philippines and Taiwan with destructive winds and torrential rains over the coming days. The typhoon, named Chathu, was about 580 kilometers southeast of Taiwan's southmost tip on Friday morning, packing gusts of up to 230 kilometers an hour, according to Taiwan's Central Weather Bureau. The Philippine State Weather Agency said the typhoon was expected to graze the northeastern tip of the country later Friday. The agency warned of destructive winds in Santa Ana town, where around 35,000 people live, and the eastern part of the remote Babuyan Islands. Rough seas will throw up 2.5 to 10 meter waves, it added. Most projections forecast the storm will then continue to swing northeast and could hit Taiwan directly over the weekend. It will be closest to Taiwan on Saturday and Sunday. The public should take precautions against strong winds and downpours, said Taiwanese forecaster Hugh Chung-yi.
The fifth and final test between India and England at Old Trafford in Manchester has been called off due to COVID-19 fears in the Indian camp on Friday, just hours before the scheduled start of the play. England and Wales Cricket Board has issued an official statement confirming the cancellation of the match. The development came after a meeting between officials of the Board of Control for Cricket in India, BCCI, and the ECB less than 3 hours before the toss was scheduled to be held. The visitors, led by Virat Kohli, are leading the series 2-1.
In the US Open tennis tournament, world number 1 Novak Djokovic will meet 4th seed Olympic gold medalist Alexander Zverev in the men's singles semi-final, while world number 2 Daniil Medvedev will take on Aliasim in the second semi-final in few hours from now. British teenager Emma Raducanu made history by becoming the first ever qualifier to reach the women's singles final at a Grand Slam. The British team defeated 17-seeded Maria Sakkari of Greece 6-1, 6-4 in the semi-finals on Friday to become the youngest Grand Slam finalist in 17 years. 18-year-old Raducanu, who is now ranked 150th in the world, will take on another teen, Leila Fernandez, 19 of Canada, in the women's singles US Open tennis final on Sunday. Leila Fernandez defeated Arelinka Sabalenka in the semi-finals. A 14-year-old Maria Sharapova had won the Wimbledon title in 2004.
And now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. The Guardian says Biden tells Xi US and China must not veer into conflict. Washington Post writes millions of workers firm to face Biden's new rules on vaccines and testing. Sputnik News writes Republicans bash Biden over vaccine mandate flip-flop, wanton disregard for US Constitution. The Globe and Mail reports BioNTech reportedly set to request approval to use its COVID-19 vaccine in children as young as 5. Financial Times says China's Xi Jinping faces off against fan armies in crackdown on celebrity culture. Financial Times says US lifts import ban on Malaysia's top glove over alleged forced labor. And South China Morning Post reports Taiwan drift remains despite Xi-Biden call for closer contact. A look at the headlines once again. India-Australia hold bilateral meet in New Delhi to discuss defence cooperation, deepening military engagements and cooperation in emerging defence technologies. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi calls for enhanced Brics cooperation under the motto of Build Back Resiliently, Innovatively, Credibly and Sustainably in post-COVID global recovery. India calls for an inclusive dispensation in Afghanistan which represents all sections of Afghan society. United Arab Emirates lifts restrictions on entry of fully vaccinated residents. Indians may fly into UAE from September the 12th. In cricket, fifth and final test between India and England at Old Trafford called off due to COVID-19 fears. India is celebrating its 151st birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let us listen to his favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, from artist from South Africa.